what a game. The Indiana Fever snap the New York Liberty's undefeated streak.
The word undeniable exists for a reason, and it applies to Caitlin Clark. She is just absolutely undeniable, and her return to the Indiana Fever showed it once again. It felt like a jolt of energy to the WNBA, obviously to the Indiana Fever.
The WNBA recently made the most. An embarrassing error in the history of sports. Following Caitlin Clark's injury recovery, they completely destroyed the defense. Liberty, the champion, scored 32 points. Decided she required a drug test in a suit. 11 times this season, it seems the response on the internet was quick, harsh, and the league is now utterly comical. Confronting criticism they didn't anticipate. You believe that the WNBA is genuinely attempting to undermine their own greatest celebrity, or are they simply happen to be this incompetent?
I'm gonna say it. Caitlin Clark is the best basketball player in the world. She's the best basketball player that I have ever seen. She is the difference maker. She is the needle mover. She is the face of basketball right now. It's really hard not to recognize the difference that she makes on the Indiana Fever, a team that was obviously struggling with playmaking, struggling with pacing, struggling with the things that make us want to watch. And she steps into that court, and in the first quarter, she made...
First, let's review the facts, because they sound so silly. Caitlin Clark's made-up return from a 5-game injury absence results in a 32-point loss. She leads the reigning champs team to an unexpected triumph that makes a statement. The unbeaten streak of New York and her. Compensation for this outstanding achievement. Is the 11th drug test required? This season, based on reports the majority of WNBA players undergo testing. 3 times throughout the regular season, and once during the off-season.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark to fire away from 2 players with incredible
The WNBA office examined Clark's statistics sheet and reportedly considered 32 points. She must be on after missing 5 games. Something unlawful because, of course, being exceptionally talented and preparing for it couldn't possibly explain at basketball. Her performance had to be performance-enhancing substances at the... Social media responses were swift, and one user harshly said she tested positive for goat blood, which is actually possibly the most precise drug test outcome in the history of athletics, another stated. Scott Foster ought to be drug tested while they are engaged in what is likely the biggest sensible recommendation that someone has made about WNBA officiating throughout the season. However, my personal favorite answer came from someone stating that they need to have conducted a DNA test instead to determine whether she's truly human since, let's face it, Clark's actions against the Liberty looked incredible, making 3 three-pointers. 38 seconds to begin the game, which is... The video shows abnormal human behavior. The timing of the game, things couldn't be more untrustworthy or humiliating for the 5 games are missed by League Clark due to against the best, a quad injury returns. Team in the league, and right away, reminds everyone of her role as the spokesperson for. Her return to professional basketball wasn't only excellent, it was historic. With 17, the Fever set a franchise record. Clark's 3-pointers gave the impression that she never went away, and the whole basketball. The world recalled the reason they tuned into. Observe her play and the reaction of the league. Let's ensure she isn't defrauding because to the poor optics, the Titanic appeared to be a small navigational error. You have the player who is your biggest star alone boosted the number of viewers and brought women's rights into the public eye. Basketball, and you handle her as though she's a suspected criminal following her best performance on the drug test in weeks. The WNBA's protocol is allegedly 11 random tests for a single player in one season begins to appear less arbitrary and more akin to intimidating other gamers. Undergo the necessary 3 tests. If they're unlucky, Clark might be for. Apparently, the premium bundle. accompanied by a post-game specimen, gathering following outstanding performances.
Keep it down! Go! Yeah! Good job.
No, that's wicked.
Good job. Squad needed it. Played Fever way. I love it.
Let's discuss what truly transpired. In the Liberty game, due to the performance was so excellent that it seems caused a drug test, and Clark emerged, firing from the first tip that hits. In the first quarter, 3 logo threes. Breanna Stewart gave her a 5 for it. Feet of space and continuing to observe when the ball passes past the net, it's not. Chemical augmentation is a skill unto itself, paired with the type of assurance that distinguishes superstars from ordinary gamers. The creative aspect of Clark's performance was more than simply her score. Plan the entire offense that was produced. Open searches for teammates and came up with the defending champions appear unimpressive on. When you view the tape, their home court, this obviously wasn't luck or some brief period of heat. This was a basketball master lesson taught by an individual who played 5 games on the bench. Research on how to eliminate the league's top team, however, rather than appreciating this comeback performance, it was chosen by someone in the WNBA office. Required research since heaven prohibit their biggest celebrity from becoming genuinely excellent at basketball. There must be a reason other than talent, basketball IQ, and hard ethic as reasons why she makes the fans' game appear so simple. Responses illustrate how tone-deaf. There is one comment on this judgment. Caught the ridiculousness of the WNBA is shocked that they have a excellent player whose attitude captures what a lot of individuals believe, that the league is quite unusual for true superstar talent because they are unsure of how to deal with it when it appears. As another user noted, Clark receives more drug tests than Angel Reese scores points for each game, which is amusing and precise in mathematics based on the comparisons between recent performances are relentless and vicious, with each one emphasizing how Clark was treated by the league. The magic number verges on the ridiculous. Jokes write 12 assists for themselves in A. Drugs must be hitting shots in the game. The logo is always unquestionably, suspiciously improving her teammates' performance just by spending time in court for. The league has also developed a circumstance in which greatness is inevitably initiates an inquiry.
Congrats on your great performance.
Thanks.
Just want to let you know you have a huge fan base in Hong Kong.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And
hopefully I'll get there one day.
And today, there are 5 Hong Kong fans fly from Hong Kong to
No way. Oh my gosh.
And the hour is 22 hours.
No way. Oh my goodness. Well, I wish I could have met them.
I just want to say this, including me.
If you know them, tell them thank you for coming. That's
So-
incredible.
Yeah, so any plans you will visit Hong Kong with your teams in the future years?
Yeah, maybe we'll head to Hong Kong after the season. I mean, I certainly hope to go to Hong Kong one day. It's incredible to see the type of reach that we can have and how much people love basketball across the globe. So that's really cool. So if you know them, tell them I say hello and thanks for coming as well.
Yeah, thank you. Hope one day to show you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
This is what makes. This is even more absurd. Clark's dominance doesn't just appear overnight. That would support the idea that she has been doing this since the deep threes in college. The court vision that doesn't look appears to be supernatural, and this is exactly who she. Anyone who has observed her as a player, career is aware of this performance level. Is typical for her when the drug is healthy. Testing following the delivery of this specific game. A statement that the league either won't recognize their own star or not. Wish to think she's actually this good. Neither answer is very clear. On the leadership of the WNBA or the capacity to identify and appropriately support for top talent. What transpired? Opposed to the Liberty wasn't an exception. Was Clark getting back to normal? Of play following their absence due to. She informed everyone about the injury. Clark's Fevers are a totally distinct squad from the Fever without. Her teammates make the offense run more smoothly, improve their appearance, and all of a sudden their rivalry with the reigning champs. The level of social media mocking peaked. Levels, with many indicating that the WNBA is deliberately attempting to undermine their own. When your biggest star delivers the product, a performance worthy of celebration, league-wide, and your answer is required drug tests that you've essentially misinterpreted how to construct and promote a league of professional sports. The analogy to other sports becomes into when Steph Curry hits 9, it's inevitable. In an NBA game, three-pointers aren't. They sell the highlights and drug test him. When an NFL player throws for 400 yards, the league honors the performance that only occurs in the WNBA. It seems that brilliance requires a chemical examination of one especially harsh remark. Seeing that Clark has undergone more testing, more times than she has been effectively promoted, by the league that strikes to the core of the continuous identity crisis of the WNBA, possess a gift that spans generations and brings unparalleled interest in their product. And they react with distrust instead of then a celebration. The timing of this revelation makes Clark's situation even worse. Appointment television was the game that returned. Fans specifically watched to see how, after the injury layoff, she would perform. The performance was better than expected. Produced instances of virality and produced precisely the sort of encouraging attention the WNBA is in dire need, and we discover that she later underwent a drug test. The league's policy regarding drug testing may be formally arbitrary, yet the visual propose a more focused suggestion when the same player is consistently chosen for testing, particularly following noteworthy performances. It begins to appear less like random selection and similar persistent abuse of their largest, ironically, star. Clark's success ought to be the largest celebration in the WNBA. This player attracts large audiences, boosts viewership and boosts sales of items, and draws attention to major sports, to basketball for ladies rather than focusing their marketing approach on her skills, which they seem to be developing their drug testing regimen around her games. The fans' remarks regarding this circumstance demonstrate the harm that this strategy causes to the standing of the league when the audience is making fun of the way you handle. You've lost control of your biggest celebrity. The story when making jokes about drugs testing receives greater participation than clips from the real game that you. There is a significant misalignment in priorities. Social media users weren't shy about highlighting the ridiculous remarks, included everything from jokes about testing for basketball prowess to recommendations that perhaps the league ought to try other players to see why they are unable to compete. Clark's performance level. The ingenuity in making fun of this choice has been unrelentingly persistent in the larger. This is made considerably more troublesome by the situation the WNBA is currently experiencing collective negotiating and bargaining in an effort to raise player compensation and enhance conditions of work. When stories start to surface about the treatment of your biggest star, it doesn't contribute to excessive drug testing. Precisely present the league in a favorable light on how players are treated. The timing of these examinations also increases inquiries regarding the league's Clark's decision-making process, examined following outstanding performances, giving the appearance that success raises suspicion, which is precisely the antithesis of what you wish to say. Players now or in the future. Stars, the entertainment value of the responses on social media have been amazing. Users have transformed this into a comedic treasure trove of jokes that range from evaluating for unadulterated basketball ability to recommendations that Clark ought to insist on. View the test results of other players for contrasting the inventiveness of the mocking. This choice demonstrates how clearly troublesome it seems to the outside observers. One user captured flawlessly the circumstance by pointing out that Clark receives more often than most drug tests. Players receive valuable playing time. That observation emphasizes both her examination was excessive and the widespread mediocrity that characterizes a large portion of the skill level of the leagues.
Treatment of this circumstance is A.
Most well-known participant in the league can put Clark through a lot of tests. What is to stop them from being too good, from focusing on other players for any? The reason they produce this establishes A. precedent that compromises the rights of players and honor around the league. This is made worse by the historical setting. Women's athletics have always had difficulties because regard and acknowledgement when the WNBA finds a player at last who brings public awareness and legitimacy to their product. Their reaction is to wonder if such achievement is valid. It's self-defeating at the competitive balance at the greatest level. An argument breaks down when examined if Clark's supremacy was fabricated. Teams would be requesting inquiries rather than rival coaches and athletes recognize her ability while expressing annoyance at having to defend against it. Not suspicious at all. That's elite's professional recognition, the power to rally the fan base. Surrounding Clark in reaction to this therapy that pits us against them. Mindset of the league and its followers. Control when your target audience is actively opposing your administrative choices that you essentially misinterpreted your position as an organization that provides sports entertainment. The story of the drug test has taken center stage. Actual conversation about basketball which depicts the league's total failure. Priority rather than examining Clark's performance and her growth as a professional in their second year or the group's enhanced chemistry that we are discussing. Protocols for the league's specimen collection has succeeded in turning its brightest celebrity into a victim as opposed to a festivity. This circumstance aptly captures the WNBA's continuous battle for success. They long to be mainstream, interest and more income. However, when they receive precisely what they have been, it is suspicious to ask for their reaction and inquiry. It's similar to complaining regarding hunger and thereafter asking how well the food is prepared when someone presents. The WNBA somehow gives you a 5-star lunch, successfully transformed their biggest talents into victorious reappearance in public. A nightmare for relationships when excellence causes drug tests rather than party. You realize some things. The league leadership is gravely flawed. How do you feel about this entire thing? Drop. Hit the like button with your thoughts below. If you believe that Clark is owed an apologies, and sign up for more sports self-written drama.